What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Duty Bound podcast. It is a 2024 season. So, yay, season 4. Crazy. Welcome in November. So, do not adjust your volume or your camera. You are in the right place. I'm so excited about this month because it's my birthday. It's my birthday month. So happy birthday to me and every person born in November. Um, this is the month of the military family. And so this first half of the podcast, I'm going to talk about military families because I am one. My dad was long out of military before I was even thought of, so I didn't grow up as a military kid, but I got 3 of them that did. And so uh, if you're new here, or if you've been watching me, you'll notice my background changed. I'm trying to create. I want to be like a real podcaster. Like, I want to eventually build this out. So if you show up every month, twice a month, and we call it the Payday Podcast, you're going to realize that some things are going to be changing in the background. I'm going to be adding some things, moving some things around, messing around with my lighting. You might see my leg, you might not. I might be dressed up, I might be dressed down. And if you've listened to some previous episodes, you know I can hold back a tear. But this whole podcast is designed for to invoke conversations around my own experience as a sexual assault survivor. Because interruptions happen, right? Pause. Life. I, I'm not even going to pretend like that didn't just happen because I don't want to be one of those people. I've seen the professional podcast and I've also seen when things happen and go wrong and some stuff just doesn't make it to the editing floor, and that's not going to be me because my life is full of different types of interruptions, to include as I was saying about my father having served and been long gone, but I'm a caretaker. And so who's going to tell a 91-year-old that he can't come knock on my door or he can't come in my office whenever he wants? It ain't going to be me. So welcome to Duty Bound, Duty Interruptions. No, I wanted to be really more laid back. I think the progression of my podcast has been, I was very formal. I was writing things down, um, a script and everything. And this year I've gotten to the point where I want to be more authentic about my experiences, things that have happened, a lot more transparent. Uh, I've told my story in this last 10 months of the year, more than I have ever in my life. And because of that, I never want it to sound rehearsed. There are a lot of parts and pieces that are missing that everyone doesn't know, and rightfully so. Everyone doesn't get to have access to every part of me, but I am inviting more people into the experience of what I went through as a spouse, then as a service member, and now on the other end as a veteran, right? To me rocking my pieces and my shirts that we're going to eventually have up on the website. But back to the month of the military family. When I think about the military family as a unit, I think about the FRG and my exposure to the FRG, the Family Readiness Group. It's different for every branch in terms of family readiness. I think everyone calls it the Family Readiness Group, different branches. Somebody in the comments correct me what the other branches call it. But that was my first connections to people outside of my family. And my first exposure to understanding the rank structure, the spousal structure at the time. It was crazy because it was just a lot of rumors. At the time, my first husband was enlisted and young. And so some of these women became lifelong friends. As a matter of fact, in Germany is when I really, really got to understand what the FRG did and didn't do. And so I became friends with this wonderful, amazing woman named Nani. And Nani embraced me, took me in, took me around Germany, and remained my friend even when I left early. We are friends to this very day. And if I'm ever in Houston, Nani is like a phone call away. We still keep up with each other in on social media. Our kids, her daughter's now married. She's got one. She got one that's back in school again. But the longest friendship ever, the longest friendship ever. And so over 20 years, all because of the FRG and the unit, she really helped me understand also what I was I was allowed to ask for when it came to safety. She knew what was going on in my home, and so she was one of those people that helped me understand the other side of advocacy. I think if I'm being honest, I think Nani, I don't say I think, she was one of the first people that advocated for me in my heart, the ability to say that what's going on isn't right. And that's when I started to ask for an early return to dependence. After the incident with him just getting put into the barracks time and time again, showing up in the barracks and him being in bed with other women, like it wasn't going to stop. And so she was one of those people that really just poured into me over there and made me feel like I had a family. And so when I got back stateside, the FRG I was like, yep, I'm going to turn this into a y'all not about to get away with some foolishness organization. I went hard when we got to Arizona with the FRG. I was more focused on teaching the spouses everything that wasn't taught to me, and also outside resources. Anybody been to Fort Huachuca? Sierra Vista is, I mean, it's no different than most military towns. They are usually in places that don't have a whole lot going on. I wish it wasn't true. I'm sure there are some bases where the towns surrounding the military installations are built up. Sierra Vista wasn't one of them. So one bullet alley. There used to be a horse ranch out there. I think when I was leaving, they were shutting that down. And so I haven't been back to Huachuca since 2008. 2008, I think, is when we left. When I got to Huachuca and I was running the FRG or part of the FRG, let me make sure. Um, because my first husband's commander at the time had other people that were way above me that were really, in my opinion, the people running the things. But I was an integral part of making sure the spouses understood what an LES was. I think that's where I keep saying I found my place there in advocating for other people. I can't help but go back to um, the scripture in our Bible that says that we give to others the measure of comfort that we receive from God ourselves. And so for me, that is that is probably the essence. Why do I keep saying probably? Help me out. That is the essence of who I am. Everything that I do, it's to give back to people a measure of comfort that only I receive from God. And I Don't get me wrong, there are many, many people in my life who have helped forge my resiliency. And so I say that to say that as an advocate, I'm speaking for myself. I don't know that I can speak for other advocates, but I do. I honestly want to make sure that people receive what I didn't, but also give them what's been put inside of me. So the sad thing about where I've seen the FRG on the other side as a spouse, because my second husband was a reservist, was it was non-existent. I think I can count on one hand how many times I went to family functions or FRG functions when my husband was at his unit in Dallas. One or two times. Now, I want to caveat that with it could very well have been that he did not want to participate and did not tell me. That is a very real possibility. But it just wasn't there. The support wasn't there. I knew better where to find the information. I remember signing up and trying to gather this herd of cats that's often referred to as reservists because it's difficult the way that they show up once a month, the way that they train, the way they stay connected, the way these people have full-time jobs, and then also their commitment to their country. And so the FRG on the reservist side, from my perspective, is not good. Does that lead to more issues with reservist family members? Commanders not knowing if spouses are being abused, children are being abused? I imagine if there are studies out there that I have yet to come across, the the statistical data of commanders being in the know. It's not like a barracks check or a health and welfare check when your service members or your soldiers are out of state, don't live anywhere near you, don't live anywhere near somebody that can go check on them. I think it's very hard for them to pour into the family unit on the reserve side. And so I would love to see that plussed up. I would love to see if there's a way to mitigate that. And I'm sure I'm not the only person that feels that way or has attempted to. I wonder what a reserve unit that is in a somewhat healthy state, what that looks like for them. How do they work around location issues? How do they work around the fact that some spouses don't want to be a part of anything that has to do with their husband's unit or the frustrations that they feel when their spouse has to leave once a month or deploy? I'd be willing to jump in that pool. But I also want to hear from people that are spouses to reservists or reservists that feel like their unit doesn't really care about their family, isn't involved, don't have activities. I mean, at the very least, Christmas parties, Easter egg hunts, something, a barbecue. Does your spouse even know who your commander is? Emergency phone numbers if something were to happen to you. And then I'm going to sandwich it because that's what we're taught as social workers, right? You get the good, the bad is the meat, and then you end it with some good in between the bread. The good. I will say that military families, one thing we are good at is moving. The military family as a unit, when you know that you are going to move every 3 to 4 years, there are some things in military families, and only military families are going to be able to relate. I wish I had the sticker. It's on my desk downstairs. The stickers that the movers put to number your things, the different color coded stickers for different rooms, and all the way up to 1,000. I think we've definitely gone through several rolls of stickers, putting stickers on boxes and things as we've moved progressively from a small little U-Haul truck when I first went in 2011 to a semi and a U-Haul truck full of stuff because we moved so much and accumulated so much over the years. But our organizational skills are top notch, right? Nothing says military family like we need to create another room to put all of our household goods and essentials that we're going to need immediately as soon as we get to our new duty station before all of our other stuff gets there. Because if you're a military family member, you already know I'm not going to have access to certain things in my home, my creature comforts, my comfort creatures, as soon as I get there. I've learned over the years when I move that I do take out the essential household goods that I need. So I take out a few pots and pans that I can put into a box, a spatula, a spoon, a slotted spoon in case there's some kind of vegetables or pasta, a couple of knives. We might do plastic plates and plastic silverware just so we can avoid taking like heavy plates and cups and stuff like that. But as far as pots and pans go, absolutely taking a frying pan, a saucepan, and then one like a big pot in case we need to make some pasta or something. Because nothing like one pot meals when you're not going to get your household goods for another 2 weeks. Essentials, definitely taking out soaps and putting them to the side, body washes, towels, washcloths, cloths. Yeah, all of that. Having that set aside and putting a sign on it that says do not touch to the movers. And sometimes they still do. They still touch it. I don't know why, but they do. What else do we do? Um, Getting our neighbors involved for sure. When you live on a military base and your neighbors find out that you're leaving, again, nothing like the community to come together and bring over one pot meals, casserole dishes, because your microwaves got packed up, or you don't want to cook on your stove because they got to come and do an inspection and you want everything clean. Sandwiches, lunch meat, having a mustard and a ketchup. That's another thing about moving, packing, having your spices packed up and you leaving out like the essential spices. Let me tell you something. If I don't give you anything else in this podcast, it is when you move, the essential spices to keep out. Salt and pepper, obviously. You need to keep that out. Garlic and onion powder for sure. Italian seasoning, because again, pasta. Red pepper flakes, in case you want something spicy. Soy sauce, ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, and relish. Leave those things out. I'm telling you, save your life. Because nothing says my mom doesn't care about me like some unseasoned chicken or hamburger. I've heard it from Joshua most of the time. But yeah, our organizational skills are top notch. It's a wonder some military people don't go into logistics because we would be great at packing some stuff up and playing. Listen, Jenga and Tetris, that's my jam. I've learned how to strategically place things inside boxes, inside cubicles and bags because we've moved 8 times. Yeah, I'm shaking my head because I'm like, dang, that's a lot. My children have had to change schools 3 times in one calendar year. In one calendar year. So only 5 from there. But yeah, military families. And speaking of schools, right? That's the other thing that military kids and families resilient. Overseas schools are very different than here in the US. And so my kids had to adjust to living in Germany to versus living over here. But when you have a special needs child, it adds to the stressor. There are probably military families out here that know the heartache that I'm talking about when you have a child who has special needs and you go from one installation to another and they either don't have the services that you had previously, they are backlogged and you are on a tremendous wait list, or you have to travel far from base. If you have one car between you and your spouse and he has to go to work with it, or you've got to drop him off, or you work, the the resiliency, the perseverance, the incredible ability to keep this family going as a unit, unlike anything else. And don't get me wrong, parents that have special needs kids that are not military, uh, my hats are always off. Traditional nuclear families that are not military and have to make it work, my hats are off. There's something uniquely different about the stressors when you are a military family, and something uniquely wonderful about having people around you know and understand. I've spent many, many nights in my neighbors' homes at their tables, crying, drinking, um, and really trying to disconnect from the day, figuring out who's picking up the kids, having our week of, all right, it's your week to take the kids to school, uh, type of thing. So I think the military unit is just an incredible thing. And I want to make sure that this episode is particularly dedicated to the military family and the unit as a whole. So my goal is for you as the audience, whether you're military or not, to really step back and reflect on what an incredible ride. Would I do it again? That's such an unfair question to ask somebody who's done it for 20 years. I'm too old. No, I'm kidding. I get antsy if I'm somewhere for more than 3 years. I think at this point, if I'm not moving, something's wrong. The earth is still. I I can't say that I don't like the idea of moving to a new city where nobody knows my name. Don't sue me. I don't want to get sued for trademark infringement or copyright or whatever it is. That was a song. But I'm just saying going somewhere and learning new cultures around that particular town, that state, those people. I would still do it as a civilian if I could find somebody willing to take that crazy ride with me. If I could find somebody who's willing to take that crazy ride with me. So yes, I'm grateful for my experience as a military spouse, as a military member. I don't think my children would trade it either. I think they've enjoyed the adventure for the most part. Two of my children have decided to stay in Texas where we left off at. That's become their home. My son has fallen in love with Texas and has remained there. My daughter's there going to school. So I think for them, they want to establish roots and put their heels in the ground, and I'm comfortable anywhere. Um, I want to end this episode with recognizing the awarenesses that are coming up in this month because it's time for Are You Aware, right? International Stress Awareness Week is November 2nd to the 6th. And so, stress awareness, stress eating, stress hair pulling, stress nail biting, stress skin picking, whatever it is that some people tend to do when they are stressed. I've seen people rub bald spot in their head from stressing or pulling their hair. Uh, know your stressors, know your triggers. If you don't, triggers. Ooh, why'd I say it like that? Know your triggers, know your stressors, journal. If I think that's an incredible idea to, if you have the capacity, we're always giving people, hey, do this, hey, try this. Journaling is one of those things that is super intentional. Taking the time to sit down, or even on our very smart devices, right? So we have these phones that can take notes. If you find yourself feeling overwhelmed and you start pulling on your ear, rubbing that spot, grab your phone and note what was happening, what just triggered it, what were you thinking about. It doesn't have to be anything long. A journal doesn't have to be a dear God, it's me, Margaret type of thing. It can just be, I just got into an argument and realized that I went and had a piece of pie or something. In the long run, you'll understand, and then you'll be consciously aware. Because sometimes when things stress us, we unconsciously do that thing without even know it, putting our fingers in our mouths, touching that spot in our hair, pulling at something on our face. Now you're consciously aware of the things that happened leading up to it, what you did afterwards. The Marine Corps' birthday, November 10th. Hoorah. I love that I was able to do a super support Saturday for a Marine who's doing incredible things with helping veterans transform their bodies. So we'll shout out the Marines on November 10th. Plus they have the Marine Corps Marathon that's coming up in DC too. My friend Jamaica's running. Maybe next year. I don't know. DC always kills me. Veterans Day, November 11th. Please make sure you thank a veteran, every single veteran. You hear me? Every single veteran, women and men alike. And then the last one on November 13th is World Kindness Day. And I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm probably going to challenge somebody to do something on World Kindness Day. So we're going to create the post. As always, time is a finite resource. And so when you spend it with me, I really, really appreciate it. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I can't wait to talk to you guys on the 15th and update you on everything that's going on, especially my birthday. I'm going to let y'all know how that goes. Please like, share. I should have said that in the beginning. Like, share, subscribe to this channel. I can't do this work without the assistance of you all. So please send this to your friends. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, glasssoldier.org or Act to End. Act to End on IG is act_to_end. Subscribe to our newsletter. Go to our website, glasssoldier.org. Landing page for Act to End is on there. I'm looking forward to the growth of this podcast, to bringing you guys along on my journey. I may bring somebody in here. The couch ain't big enough for two people. But I mean, you're going to have to tune in twice a month just to see what happens. You never know how I'm going to show up. You just don't know. So I guess I'll catch y'all back on the 15th. Until then, do good, be good.